Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. Do you suck at PvP? Let's be honest. You don't know how to set up your character, your build, your gear, champion points, whatever. I'm going to walk you through this, kind of what I look at and some strategies and tactics that I use for PvP. You're going to want to watch this video if you need a starting place. And I'd highly recommend checking out my website, Deltiasgaming.com, where I have customized builds, whether it's 2-bar or 1-bar, it doesn't matter. So let's start with the premise of PvP, what you need to think about, and then we're going to work towards the gear and skills so you can actually make your own build and customize it for your playstyle. First up, and when we talk about PvP, is your mentality. So it's the exact opposite of PvE. PvE is static rotations, maybe moving out of some crap on the ground here and there, but it's really the static rotation, 10, 12 seconds, going back and applying buffs, making sure your light attack weaving, doing X, Y, and Z, right? PvP is the exact opposite. It's all about burst. So think of it like a dance. You're going to get your buffs up, your armor buffs that reduces damage, your weapon and spell damage buff, your crit buff, or whatever else that's going to amplify your damage, going to give you some healing, and it's going to lower damage resistance. And then you're going to go on the offensive, maybe full throttle for 3, maybe 10 seconds at max. And if it doesn't work out, you're going to pull back, reset, and refresh those buffs all over again. So logically, you need to think, unlike PvE, your goal is to do the dance, to jump in, go on the offensive, or burst heal, or tank, or whatever, and then pull back, reset those buffs, even if you're using a 1-bar build, and then throttle down again. So the number one most important thing that you can adjust is that you do not want to sit there and face tank with people, or you will get absolutely smoked. And some of this footage shows you exactly how to do that. You constantly see me hugging walls, trees, running back, CC breaking, and so forth. And I'll give you a little bit more details on that later. Okay, so your mentality's changed. You know that it's a dance. You gotta jump in there, blow someone up, and if it doesn't work, you're gonna peel back. Or if you get blown up, so whatever. We're gonna respawn. Now, setting up your gear. I have a gazillion customized builds on my website, but I found something that works on pretty much every single type of character and build. I'm gonna pull up this gear chart. The first one we're gonna show you here is a light armor user. And what I use is 3 light, 3 heavy, 1 medium. This gear setup is optimal because you get an offensive set on your front bar when you need it most, and a back bar defensive set when you go to your back bar and need it most. When you're very first starting out, you can actually run 2 defensive sets, and then start stripping off the training wheels as you get more and more comfortable. When I say 2 defensive sets, I'll give you some examples later, but you're thinking about anything that increases your healing, resource sustain, armor, and mitigation, and a lot of max HP. Do the opposite of what everyone else tells you. You're not going to be a 1vx master and facing people that spend 10,000 hours in the game right away. You just need to calm down and not get destroyed in 30 seconds, otherwise this will be no fun for you. So with this loadout, assuming you're going to go with the 2-bar, you have an offensive set, a defensive set, a monster, a mythic, and then a 1-piece item set like trainee or druids, okay? So let's start with monster helms. What would I go with and why? Number 1, Magma Incarnate, tamed in Veteran Dread Cellar. It gives you everything you need. 1-piece resource sustain. The 2-piece gives you armor and gives you increased spell and weapon damage. This is very important. Increased spell and weapon damage, even if you're a damage dealer, essentially means increased healing as well. That's why it's a very valuable stat. Another one I would go with is Engine Guardian. It's really good resource sustain, and the little droid that you summon, the little Dwemer, is actually a really good decoy. Constantly gets hit and nailed, and it's great for new players because it's so easy to get in its base game. Another one that is really good is Balorgs. This is real big burst damage. So what you do is you save up ultimate. The more ultimate you save, the more weapon and spell damage and penetration you get. So this is ideal if you want to go on the offensive for about 10 seconds and really burst down 1 or more targets, something you're going to collect. Another one coming from Imperial City is called Zol the Ever Wakeful. You have to get this actually from killing a boss down in the sewers and getting 20,000 Telvar to get the shoulder. What it does is it's an anti-gank. So if someone CCs and stuns you, it boom, blows up around them and CCs them. Perfect anti-gank tool. If you're a tank out there, I'd recommend Bloodspawn. Reason why, it gives you a lot of mitigation and gives you ultimate, which you can use defensively. If you're a healer out there, I'd go with Earthgore. One of the best burst heals in the game and creates like a little mini negate as well. Now, when we talk about offensive sets, there's really a lot to choose from, so I'm just going to be a little bit general in what would work for most players. And I think Order's Wrath is a great place to start. Comes from the High Isles, it's craftable, it gives you a lot of crit damage and crit healing as well. Believe it or not, this works very well with the Thief Munda Stone, because crit chance not only applies to your damage, but your healing. And if you have a high crit along with high crit healing, you're going to be able to pop yourself up from about near death a lot easier. And the fact that it's craftable means you can put on the jewelry, on the body, whatever weight and whatever traits that you want, making it a great choice. Now you have Plague Break. This is medium armor. Comes from Words of the Worthy PvP. This works on any class. Tank, magic, stam, doesn't matter. Puts a dot that hits pretty hard, and it blows up if someone cleanses or purges, removes negative effects from themselves. Also, if you kill a target with this on it, it goes boom. A lot of these clips you see, me killing 3 or 4 people at a time, it's because Plague Break blows up, they're on top of each other, and bang, they're all dead. So consider Plague Break an option. And if you're a light armor user, just simply put on the jewelry and weapons and then 1 piece on the body. And then if you're a medium armor user, put about 3 on the body and then your weapons. Next up is another craftable set. It's called Mechanical Acuity. This is an old one, and people sleep on this set. I love this on my Templar, and basically what it does is when you deal non-crit damage, you're going to build up stacks, granting you critical strike chance. And you can actually reach 100% crit chance. Very, very good for burst. Now, it does go on cooldown for a long time of 25 seconds, but remember what I said, PvP's a dance. So really good to jump in and jump out with this set. Another craftable set is New Moon's Acolyte. It's going to give you a lot of weapon and spell damage just for slotting it. Very, very useful. So when you go to your back bar, you don't really necessarily need that to go on the offensive, but it does raise the cost, so be aware. Now, let's talk about back bar defensive sets. There are so many to choose from, and you can actually run a little bit different, slightly different, not run a mythic and have a really good defensive set as well. So if I were you listening to this and you get absolutely destroyed in PvP, run 2 defensive sets, believe it or not. It will make a big difference and calm you down until you can actually learn to survive. I'm going to go with my favorite one of all time, and that's Iron's Blood from Falkreath Hold. Iron's Blood's a bit unique, and it's going to get nerfed next patch, but that doesn't matter right now. You just need something to keep you survivable. And what it does right now is 10% chance to turn you into pure iron, reducing damage taken by 30%. It does snare you, and that is quite annoying, but you can get around that with Swift Jewelry and Sigic Order Race Against Time skill. But 30% damage reduction on top of major and minor protection on top of your armor makes you incredibly tanky. Comes from Falkreath Hold, kind of a pain to get a hold of. One that's not quite a pain to get a hold of, and that's Grace of Gloom. This is a heavy armor set. It comes from Somerset. You can buy it off the traders, and it gives you major evasion when you're taking damage, along with some healing. So it does have a pretty hefty cooldown, and the heal scales with max health, so you have a high max HP pool. You're going to have a decent amount of healing. But major evasion is really useful for a beginner because all the big, huge damage, the Dawnbreakers, the Leaps, the Destro Ults, the Dark Convergence, it's all AoE damage. You will survive so much more with the Grace of Gloom on, and a little trickle healing is really nice as well. Another set I would run is Wretched Vitality. This is a craftable set as well, and comes from the Deadland, 3 traits only. It just gives you absolutely staggering amount of resource sustain, which is great. So you pair this with something like Grace of Gloom, now you have resource sustain, major evasion, and you can sit and heal yourself a lot. You're gonna need a ability that you cast that will proc a major and minor buff on you. One that I like to use is Sigic Order, Race Against Time. This will keep it up and maintain 100% uptime while you're in combat. Love Wretched Vitality. Gator Trickery is another good set to run. It's also a craftable set. The thing about Gator Trickery is it gives you major buffs. So they rotate and they're random through the major buffs, but you can stack them. Major Heroism, Major Protection, Mending, Vitality, and Expedition. So it's based on dealing damage, but it doesn't matter how much damage you do. So you can put on a Resto Staff, you can put on a Sword and Shield, you can put on a Frost Staff, whatever you want. And as long as you're attacking or you have some dots up, bang, it procs, keeps defensive buffs active. Very, very good. Another set you can use is Rallying Cry. This is one of the new PvP ones. It gives a lot of weapon and spell damage and also gives crit resistance. So this is nice if you want to run a little bit more damage producing build. You can actually run an offensive set on your front, a defensive set on your back, which is Rallying Cry, that serves kind of 2 purposes, one offensive and one defensive. A little bit riskier for the beginning player since it comes in light armor, but if you want a little bit more optimal high burst, you can pair Order's Wrath with Rallying Cry, do great. My Templar a lot of times will run Mechanical Acuity with either Iron's Blood in the back bar or Rallying Cry. I absolutely love it. Now I'm going to get to mythics here in a little bit. If you don't like mythics, can't stand them, what I would do is run 3 jewelry, and I would drop the mythic item, and I would run 2 defensive sets, one or the other. Mark of Pariah. This comes from Orsinium, can be bought on the traders. What it does, the lower the HP you get, the more tanky you become, the more armor and mitigation you become. Compare this with stage 3 vampire build. You will be extremely tanky at very low HPs and will save you from getting destroyed a lot. Another set don't sleep on is Buffer of the Swift. This set has a unique buff that's 10% damage reduction from players, but stacks on top of major and minor protection. It does come in light armor, but you can use something like Data Trickery alongside this and get major protection, and you can slot Temporal Guard, get minor protection, and another 10% protection at all times with this. Another good combo if you don't want to use a mythic. Moving on, that gives you some options. Now mythics, what do we use? There is a lot to run through. In my opinion, Markin's Ring of Majesty, annoying to get a hold of, provides the best overall offensive and defensive setup. Reason why, gives you weapon and spell damage and armor. So you're looking at 200 weapon and spell damage, about 2,000 armor with the setup that I have. It's very, very good. There is a ton to list out here, but I would say we run with whatever you want on your jewelry that you prefer. Torque is a really good resource sustain. Death Dealer's Fate, very good for high stats. Sea Serpent Coil, a new one that's absolutely incredible. Or of course, you can run good old Oaken Soul. Well, for at least this patch. If you're gonna run Oaken Soul, I've experimented with multiple build setups. Me personally, I think it's very simple to do 2 5-pieces and drop the Monster Helm, and then run Oaken Soul. Just keep in mind, slotting a mythic gives you the most efficiency in a 1-item set. Okay, long-winded answer, but I gave you some tools and some gear sets that you can like go through and pick out what you want. Let's talk about traits. So me personally in PvP, I run 0 Impenetrable. Reason why is it doesn't give you that much crit resistance. A lot of people are running Rallying Cry, so you can get up to 3,000 crit resistance without any impen. The 2 traits I love on my body the most are Well-Fitted and Sturdy. If I'm running a back bar Sword and Shield or Frost Staff, which also gives the same mitigation as Sword and Shield, I run the Sturdy trait. That way when I'm blocking and I'm panicking, I'm taking a lot of pressure, I can calm down, hold block, and not blow through my stamina. Keep in mind, you're going to want about 4,000 to 5,000 stamina in the tank to break free. About 5,000 or 6,000 if you want to break free and do a dodge roll. So you're constantly looking and evaluating your stamina, and that's why Sturdy is such a good trait if you're blocking frequently. As a beginner, I don't think there's anything else better than Sword and Shield and just blocking frequently to kind of calm down and when you're taking damage and sort through what's your next move. Next, I run Well-Fitted. So on my offensive builds, I pretty much all Well-Fitted except the chest. Well-Fitted just lets you dodge roll a lot. Dodge roll gives you 100% evasion for about 1 second. So you're gonna dodge all the Nightblade abilities essentially. Sorcerer, sitting doing cheesy overloads, you're gonna dodge all of that. Now there's a penalty on dodge. Within 4 seconds, if you dodge roll again, you're gonna get extra stam cost associated with it. So you kind of wanna mimic and understand, oh, I dodge every 4 seconds. You can actually preemptively dodge as well to get that evasion running where you can just avoid attacks before you charge in. So that's why I like those 2 traits. Now, Reinforced on the chest gives you the most value per armor piece. So I pretty much gold out my chest Reinforced, and then everything else is either Well-Fitted, Sturdy, or a combination of both, whatever I'm playing. And then the jewelry. So me personally, I'd love the Swift jewelry trait. Swift gives you almost the exact same speed bonus with 2 Swift as Wild Hunt, which is a mythic. So you can get up to 14% increased speed bonus. Now you use Major Expedition on top of that, or you get it through Data Trickery, and you're extremely fast. Infuse is another good trait, which is going to increase your weapon and spell damage if you go with those enchants or resources. But the issue with it is, the mobility is so hard to live without once you've got a couple of Swift. You got them purple or gold quality. So I run 2 Swift typically, and then 1 Infused, and usually a resource sustain on the Infused part. Okay, now we got the weapon choices. So there's a bazillion options in weapon choices, okay? So the most damage probably due to Twin Blade and Blunt is Dual Wield. Dual Wield, whether you're magic or stamina, will provide a lot of damage, assuming that you're using in-class abilities as a magic build. But when in doubt, Dual Wield is really, really good for pure raw damage if you're gonna play in melee range. Another option is Two-Hander. Two-Hander is good for stam and magic builds, and the reason why is there's 2 passives. Battle Rush, which gives you resources back when you kill a target, keeping you doing the roly-polies over and over and over. Also the follow-up passive. Wind back a fully charged heavy attack and it increases your damage from the next damage ability by 10%. That's just free damage, on top of other things like major and minor berserk as well. And then you have the typical fire staff, lightning staff, and so forth. So fire staff is really good single target. Lightning staff, if you like the range caster, is good because you can rip off a fully charged heavy attack and you don't have to aim or be very precise. So ripping off a fully charged heavy attack is just much more simple if you're struggling with resource sustain. Consider that pretty much a beginner one. Now, what do you have on your back bar? What do you run? 3 different options I run from time to time depending on what I'm doing, regardless of if I'm stam or magicka. So restoration staff, this is one of the strongest. Reason why is the passives are just incredibly strong. You can rip off a fully charged heavy attack on your back bar and grant major mending. You can rip off a fully charged heavy attack and get way more magic. And you get a little bit extra healing when you're on your restoration staff. The only downside is it doesn't have mitigation when you block. And that's what Sword and Shield has. So Sword and Shield is, along with Frost Staff, believe it or not, are very good for beginner players. Because when you're taking pressure, what I always recommend people do is calm down, hold block, and then start to think about your next move. The mitigation will carry your survivability. And usually when I train someone one-on-one on, say, like a Templar, I get them to hold block, and I just have them breath of life until they die. You'd be shocked at how long you can survive just holding block until you run out of stamina or run out of magicka and letting someone parse on you. So very, very good. The Frost Staff has something a little bit unique in that you can use magic to block or you can use stamina to block on your resource sustain. So if you want to use stamina block, just like Sword and Shield, then you take out the Tri-Focus passive. It's the very first passive in the skill line. Sword and Shield, obviously you use stamina, but Frost Staff doesn't cut your weapon enchant in 2, because the Shield maybe give you the sturdy trait or something else, where a Frost Staff with powered, you're going to have a lot more heal. So don't sleep on a Frost Staff. It will seem very goofy, but it provides the exact same stats as Sword and Shield, and you have some range, and you can restore magic ripping it off a fully charged heavy attack at range. Traits on the weapon, I generally run Sharpen on my front bar, and I go Charge or Nern Infused on my offhand if I'm running dual wield. The reason why is PvE mobs have 18,200 health, and PvP players can have 30, 40,000 resistances. Thus, the Sharpen gives you the most bang for your buck. On my back bar, I almost always go Powered. The reason why pretty much all my burst heals come from when I'm on my back bar. So I can get 20,000, 15,000 burst heals inside of Cyrodiil sometimes because of power trait and some of the champion points. Okay, I've talked a lot about gear, and I hope that gives you some idea of what to do and why. Now, stats to aim for. In my opinion, you're a beginner, you're getting frustrated with PvP, don't listen to what everyone else says. Stack 64 points into health. The more health you have, the more time you have to react. Yes, if you have more magic, or yes, if you have more stamina, you're going to heal or do a little bit more damage. You're going to have a lot of room to break free and dodge roll. But at first, you need over 32,000 health so you can react and get used to the combat and the mechanics. Aim for 32,000 health and then dump the rest of it in your main stat. Your magic user, magic, stamina user, stamina. Now, really important, you need at least 14 to 15,000 stamina, regardless of the playstyle. Why? Because when you break free and or dodge roll, you're looking at about 3,000 stamina per usage. If a Dragon Knight uses Fossilize, which CCs you and immobilizes you, you're looking at about 5,000 to 6,000 stamina just to get out of that before you die. So constantly evaluating your stamina pool and having a healthy bit of stamina is very, very good, regardless of your class, because if you drop low, you're dead. That's why having a Sword and Shield in the back bar is quite useful, because you can just boom, fully charge heavy attack when you're in melee range and get some back to keep you going in case you need to break free. So I would have that, and if I was an offensive player, I'd have 11 to 12,000 penetration, which is really good. That's going to factor in champion points, so it may vary depending on who you are. As far as resource sustain goes, I like to have about 1,800 to 2,000 recovery in my main stat. Typically, I get this from a Munda Stone in combination with 1 infused and 1 recovery glyph on my jewelry, along with, depending on your racial passive. I like to have my off stat right around 900 to 1,000 recovery as well. That'll give me a good balance. A couple different food choices to help you get to these numbers. If you want big max stats, you're going to go with Beewood Sugar Skulls. If you want really good recovery, you're going to go with Smoked Bear Haunch. And there's cheaper versions of each. Now, jumping here in game, here's my Dragon Knight. Kind of setting my bars up a very specific way, okay? So offensive is going to be dual wield. Back bar is going to be 2H. It does not matter what you use. The premise is the same. We're going to start with the back bar. Assuming you're not playing an Oaken Soul build, I'd highly recommend a defensive ultimate. Every class typically has one, or you can use your weapon skill line like Resto, Sword and Shield, and so forth. This is corrosive armor. So when I'm on my back bar, if I'm taking pressure and trying to heal myself, oh crap, click the button, I don't die for a few seconds. Every class can get this. If you don't have it, Psijic Order Undo is a good option as well, morphed into Temporal Guard. Next up, you're going to need some type of mobility. Race Against Time is perfect for this. You activate it, boom, you zip on out, and it grants you immunity for snares and immobilizations. Some classes have this built in as well. Another option would be 2H Rally / Momentum is another option to get out of there, but you need some type of major expedition. You need some type of removal of snares. If you don't, you're going to be CC'd, locked down, and everyone's going to dogpile you and die. Yes, I know Race Against Time is annoying to get, but trust me, it'll save your life a lot. Now, typically I have a lot of healing on my build since I, play as Deltia, so people just jump on me and try to nuke me down. So I always set my 5 key as my burst heal. Every class has a burst heal. Coagulating Blood for the Dragonite, Arctic Blast for the Warden, Sorcerer using Twilight Matriarch, Nightblade Healthy Offering, Templar Honor the Dead. So what I do is I put in my 5 key. This is just kind of how I lay my thing out. Like, oh my god, I'm about to die, click my 5 key. As a beginner, what I'd recommend doing, believe it or not, is putting it at the same key on both bars. Yes, you'll drop a skill and it won't be as efficient. But regardless of what bar you're on, bang, you click it and you can get a burst heal instead of fumbling around when you're taking pressure and getting panicked going, oh, what do I click? Now, once you start getting that down, you can go to your back bar reliably. You take it off, put another offensive skill there. You're playing Oaken Soul, you still need a burst heal and you still need mobility in my opinion. And then I got my armor buff. This won't apply to Oaken Soul builds, but this will just reduce your damage taken. So on my back bar, I have my armor buff, a couple of heals, mobility and defensive ult, and then a flex spot. On my front bar, pretty simple. I got a main spammable, I got an AoE ability, and I got a CC. When we talk about CC, we're talking about crowd control, which I'll show you a little bit tricks on here in a little bit. Shattering Rocks is unique and they can't be blocked or dodged, so it is just a pain to get a hold of. But this is your combo offensively, is to stun someone and then do your offensive leap. So Ferocious Leap, a high burst damage ultimate. Another good option for basically anyone is Dawnbreaker of Smiting. I still like Ferocious Leap better because you can see the tooltip. It's nice. So you're going to stun them, load them up, and then bang, use your ultimate. And this is kind of how a simple bar setup that you can use. So stun, main spammable, big AoE, armor, mobility, at least a heal over time, and a big burst heal with the defensive ultimate. You should be good to go. Now let's talk about some strategies and actually show you in combat. All right, next up, you need to know about crowd control and how to break free, when to break free, and why. So we got Pixel here. I'm going to use my Shattering Rocks, which cannot be blocked or avoided. You'll see she's going to CC break. Now, the thing to look at on her is that circle on her feet. That tells you that you can't use that Shattering Rocks ability. She's immune to CC. For right around, I think, 7 seconds. As soon as it comes back up, you're going to do it again. So this is why crowd control becomes so important, is you're locking down your target, and then you're going to get to the flank. Always think how to get to the back of the opponent, because they can't use AoEs on you. So stun them, kind of get to the flank, and then you're waiting that countdown and that clock in your head to start looking at the character themselves, but also internal clock, so, okay, I can stun them, I can control them again, and drain them of stamina. All right, so here's how it looks on my side. So she's going to use Bone Totem, which is a fear / stun. You can see. So I CC break, and then bang. Cost me about 3,000 stamina. So if I use a CC break consecutively along with a dodge roll, let's see how much stamina it costs. CC break, 3. You can see I went down to 16, roughly, 1,000 from 22,000. So that's why you want to keep a lot of stamina in the bank, because if you can't, you're probably going to die when you get CC'd like that. Another common thing about PvP is what's called line of sight. So I've already talked a little bit about it, which is when I stun Pixel here, I always get to the flank, right? Reason why is we want to make sure that they can't hit us with AoE. It doesn't make sense to always face tank them. Another thing is rock humping, I always call it, but just constantly line of sighting and being super annoying. This gives you a time to get some breath and get your resources back, get everything back. So when I'm fighting out in the open world and 10 people are dogpiling, my eyes look to 2 things on my bar. It looks to my potions and it looks to my ultimate. I never want to die with a potion or an ultimate available. Typically, you want to use those. You want to go to your back bar and you're looking. So if you can survive for 2-3 seconds just by humping a rock or getting on elevation, that's better than dying, because I've been saved so many times where a Zerg just shows up and ends up saving me. So popping a potion, getting another dodge roll or two, another big burst heal or two, popping a corrosive armor just to last another 3 or 4 seconds. You never know who's going to show up, so always consider rock humping your best option. All right, last but not least, everyone's favorite, champion points, and I'm sure this information will change 3 days later, but this is what I go with. I go with Gifted Rider because it does increase your mount speed. That's huge inside of Cyrodiil. And War Mounts, this is removing all mount stamina costs outside of combat. So these two here make an enormous difference in speed. You have to have a bazillion champion points like me, but if you do, come up here and get this. If you don't, I would start taking the Steed's Blessing #1. This is very, very good. And then you have a Flex one, Ration, or Liquid Efficiency, whatever one you want to take. I think there's some stealthy ones as well here, but I never really play stealth builds. Now, the blue one, Occultal Overload, is insane. So this, you have to have a status effect on the individual. Very, very easy when you're running a Plague Break build. So if you're running some type of status effect, whether it's your enchants on your weapon or an ability like Blast Bones that gives major defile, or something like that, it makes every single class of bomber. You can see 12,800 oblivion damage. 4-meter radius, but Plague Breaks pops people and blows up, and it's like a cascade explosion. Very, very good. I actually run a lot of crit, like I talked about earlier, and so crit damage and crit healing, very, very good. This one here with Order's Wrath is insane for survivability. And then, depending on your character, I have Resolving Vigor and Coagulating Blood. Both are single target heals. So I prefer Focus Mending over damage reduction ones like Unassailable or Duelist Rebuff because they nerfed them to 6%, right? They did not nerf Focus Mending. So 10% increase healing done is incredible, especially playing solo. And then I go down here and do Ironclad, 6% damage reduction. This is direct damage, which is pretty much everything. So very, very useful. And you'll notice I don't really have any offensive CP besides Fighting Finesse. You'll notice I don't have a whole lot of CPs like over here for Deadly Aim, Master in Arms, Thaumaturge, Binora. Reason why is I typically want to pick things that increase my damage and or my healing. Because in PvP right now, everyone does so much damage, you need to be survivable. So that's what I err on. I got Untamed Aggression here. These are useful if you can't reach anything up here because you're low champion points, Arcane, and Endless Endurance. Coming over here, I think the quintessential one, if you can reach it, is Celerity, increase movement speed by 10%. You combine that with 2 Purple Swift, that's another 14%. You're looking at 24%. You can combine that on Major Expedition. You become extremely mobile and you can get away very easily, because the only other classes I can are Sorks and Nightblades. Another one, if you don't have or you don't want to use a cleanse, is Pain's Refuge. So as you take damage, as people are dogpiling you, you're going to have tons and tons of dots on you. This just makes you more tanky. So those two are no-brainers. And then you have a couple different options. Resource Sustain, there's another one here. Survival Instinct is actually pretty good, but I always go with Fortified and Boundless Vitality. Simple, set, and forget, and they always work. Well, that's it. So again, check out Deltiasgaming.com if you need an example of a specific build that you want to run, whether it's magic or stam, whether it's 1 bar or 2, whether it's healer or tank. I pretty much have something for everyone with customizable builds along with flexible options. This is just to give you a starting point and explain some things that people really don't hear the why to. I have a bunch of other options and a bunch of other videos and written guides on my website. So check out the website. I have a website, Deltiasgaming.com, for all your builds. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this. Leave me a like and a comment if so.